Hi, everybody. It's Joe Cioffi, Fios 1 News Long Island and Fios 1 News New Jersey. Soon to be joined by Joe Rao, Fios 1 News Hudson Valley. He's lurking about somewhere. He ought to be in here. I can hear the click of the door as I sit here with bated breath as he walks in. You needed to make an entrance tonight.
Hello.
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 So how was your weekend?
You know how my weekend was.
I do?
Yes, you do.
I'm trying to remember, Joe.
Trying to remember?
Yeah.
How about getting a phone call and Saturday?
Oh, right, yeah. Right.
That was my weekend.
I got you. And, Joe Rao, Fios 1 News Hudson Valley.
Yes.
My friend Phil Buzz, who might be watching tonight, you never know. He's a huge star in the fishing world these days. As he caught a 293-pound thresher.
Oh my God!
Yesterday, yes, he did.
But just imagine that. Was this one of these situations where he had to be belt buckled into a seat?
Yes, yes. Well, they were out offshore, south of Fire Island, about halfway out, so around Bayshore. And I think he said he was out over 30 miles, and there were 4 of them. They had to take. It was part of a shark tournament, and he, they had to belt him in the chair, and
right.
I passed on the idea of going. He's been trying to get me to go, and I kind of got to about the inlet, and that's it. Because I don't want to go out in the open water,
right?
And it's a good thing I didn't, because they got just a smidge seasick, from what I understand.
God, deep sea fishing is, go get me off this boat.
Yes. Well, I've said to him, you're going to be furious with me if once you get out there, that you're going to have to turn around and take me back. So it's just best that I just stay on shore, which I did, and he brought the shark in.
Give the officers he's walking by $1. This way, that's like worth what? 20 trips. 5 cents a trip.
And by the way, just so that in these very touchy times, everybody's so touchy about everything. Okay, when they do these shark tournaments, I didn't know this until last year when I went down there for the first time, but at least in New York State, I don't know what they do elsewhere, but a lot of these shark tournaments are actually run in conjunction with they work together with the DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation, and the Coast Guard. There's a lot of strict rules and regulations, but this is actually a way of the DEC and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They use these fishing tournaments to actually check on the health of the fish populations that are out in the open waters. The only way you're going to know that is you have to go out there and catch them. So when they bring a shark back, the first thing they do after they weigh it is that Fish and Wildlife and DEC, they take all the vital internal organs. They measure take all sorts of measurements, and then they use that to check to make sure that and they see what's actually inside the stomach, because with all the stuff that's out there, they find fish in their tummies, but sometimes they find plastic bags and all sorts of other things.
Well, license plates from Alabama, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is a way. This actually saves the taxpayer money, because otherwise Fish and Wildlife would have to organize trips to go out there and catch these shark anyhow. Right. So they sort of work together. The meat is I got some steaks to bring home. The meat is actually cut up into steaks there and given away, and whatever they don't give away to people that are there at the tournament, they actually send to the homeless shelters in the area. So none of it gets wasted.
No one's a loser.
No, not
at
all.
Except for the shark.
Well, that's true.
No.
But the thresher meat is excellent, by the way. If you've never had it, or may go, but great on the grill. Okay, so the Joe and Joe weather show tonight. We've got sort of a tale of two weather worlds, Joe, because we've got this absolutely fantastic air that we're in. I'm just loving this.
Well, as I said on one of my earlier weathercasts on Fios 1 Lower Hudson Valley, it'll be interesting. We're kicking off the week on a night tonight, or early tomorrow morning, actually, where there may be some folks who have their heat come up. I'm talking about the North Country, the rural spots up in parts of Putnam and Orange County, for example. There, the temperatures are going to be falling into the 40s. And meantime, at the end of this week, into next weekend, and probably right on at least up until the middle of next week, we're going to be looking at a siege of haze, heat, and humidity. Oh my goodness! I didn't know that red could get that deep.
Yes, I know. I'm going to bring this up on the screen in just a second.
So it's going to be. We certainly are going to be in heat wave conditions by the time we get the weekend.
Now, a few of the weather folks on various weather boards have been going kind of insane over the GFS model because apparently, I kind of tend to think it's a bit overdone in terms of these numbers. Plus, at this stage of the game, I don't know what the actual, what is it going to look like when we get to Saturday and Sunday. But I don't know if you saw this today. But the model in and of itself was actually showing some pretty ridiculous numbers. Now this is for Friday, where it's already got a fairly large finger of low 90s up into southern New England. Saturday, we actually print out. It looks like that's a 100-degree printout for Newark on Saturday with 96 at Bridgeport, 95. Let's call that Poughkeepsie, and 100 for that spot that's probably just south of Philadelphia.
Probably Camden.
Now look at Sunday. I mean, it's got 102 there at Camden. I can't even read that number. That's sitting over Newark, but it's
that's 105.
105 in Boston.
Right.
102 at Worcester. 103 in southwestern New Hampshire. I pulled up the Moss numbers across the Northeast and down to the Mid-Atlantic, and the highest number that I could find was a 99 for southeastern New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. But everybody else was like middle 95, 96, 97. I mean, a good 5 to as much as 10 degrees lower than what these numbers. It'll be every bit of 90s.
Right.
The only other thing I would point to is that when we had those 90-degree days, what was it, a week and a half ago or whatever it was?
Right.
The models initially were showing some temperatures up, near 100, and then they backed off.
Right.
We only wound up lower 90s. There were a couple of spots that got to 94 or 5.
Exactly.
So, I'm thinking that these are overdone.
I think so too, and that's a good point because for more than a few days, at the last stretch of projected, temperatures at or above 90, they were saying 95, 97. Even in one case, I think one of the hand-drawn progs from the Weather Prediction Center in Washington had 99.
Right.
For goodness.
And then they had to pull back.
They had to pull back. I said, this doesn't look all that bad. It's funny. You get conditioned to reading numbers like 97, 98, 99, and then when it ends up 90 or 92, which in its own right is still, if you're not a hot weather fan, not all that great, but still, it's. You said, what happened?
Well, it's got a 95 up at Caribou on Monday. What did it have for Sunday?
Is that possible?
And 95 in Caribou. It's got 100-degree readings in interior Maine. I think these numbers are just a little bit too far-fetched. But, still 90s on Tuesday. And, 4th of July, it starts to, and this might be because there's a front that's supposed to be nearby, so maybe clouds cut it down a bit. Still getting it to about 90 or so. But I think this is for many areas. This is going to be, all right, let's use the 3-day rule, the 3-day heat wave rule. I think for many areas this is going to be
5.
Well, I think everybody will have at least 3.
Right.
Okay, so we'll include Long Island and coastal areas with that. And then most areas will have 4 or 5. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. And it's a funny thing, I'm thinking back to 4th of July, 1966, which I was 10 years old. Not quite 10 years old, actually. My birthday comes a few weeks later. But I remember that year and how hot it got. And a lot of people point to July 9th, 1936, as the hottest day in New York. But that was Central Park. That was 106.
106.
But in 1966, LaGuardia Airport certainly is within the confines of New York City. They hit 107 on that day.
Right.
So that was about as scorching a day as we've had.
And if you could repeat that now,
years.
they probably go to 118.
Yeah.
And you, by the way, you did mention to me they apparently have fixed the Teterboro thermometer.
It seems that way. We have not seen
it was
anything
it was much more in line in the last time we got hot.
Yeah.
But no, we still have this trough off the New England coast. We've got this nice dry high in here, so we're at least through the daytime Wednesday. I think we're okay. Might see some arriving clouds on Wednesday at some point during the day, but even Wednesday should be all right. Tomorrow's going to be great. Lots of sun, 70s to near 80. No low humidity. I mean, this is just, for this time of year, this is a terrific air mass.
Right, and transition day from what we are in now to the heat, humidity, the slimy air.
Right, that'll be Thursday.
Will be Thursday with showers and thunderstorms, and then
here comes the big ridge that builds in the east for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Somebody said
it starts to flatten out when we get closer to the 4th of July.
A certain weather forecaster, meteorologist, I forget his name, just about a week or 10 days ago, was saying, well, it doesn't seem like we're going to get a big ridge in the foreseeable future. And all of a sudden now...
Well, you know what? You can mention his name if you like, because, I mean, I at least, from, one of the things...
Well, I'm saying that. Pointing the finger at me.
Oh, no. Well, look, I was on the same page.
I'm here, guys.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just want to bring up our little emblem, because we're very proud of that. But... Yeah, we how far out are we supposed to be able to really grab onto things as far as what's going to happen down the road? I mean, certainly the pattern is holding up until now, and now it's going to change, and we're going to go into that ridge, the big ridge in the east. The question is, is that how? Now the question is going to be, well, if it lasts for a week or so, and then weakens again in the longer term.
More importantly,
I don't know.
Is this going to be a pattern now that we're going to be seeing through the course of the month of July? I can't believe July begins on Sunday. Is this going to be something we're going to see on and over again through July and on into August and set the stage for what could be a really searing hot summer? Or is this just simply one of those one-shot deals or one of those anomalies that will be cropping up? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, since I happen to see him right now, let me see if our Addison wants to join the conversation. I'm going to.
The man was up early this morning. He might be asleep now.
He's awake now. I'm sure he's wide awake. The whole shift is throwing him off. The poor dear. Of course, now that I want to try it, here we go. Let's see. Addison, we're calling you.
Whoops. Calling our...
Are you there? I heard a click. Addison, are you with us?
I am with you, sir.
Okay, hang on 1 second.
Sure.
Oh, good, you're still clothed.
For the time being.
1 second. Well, no, I meant you're not in your little pajama. Your pajamas.
Little weatherman pajamas. Not yet.
All right, let me. Hang on. Mm-hmm. I'm almost there. I'm gonna bring myself up full screen. There we go. So, how are you today?
I'm hanging in there. A little tired, but hanging in.
Oh, good. Addison Green, FiOS 1 News during the midday hours, and he's Long Island and Hudson Valley. Listen, Joe and I were saying, we were looking at the GFS, which again has got these big numbers in terms of temperatures for starting on Sunday. It's got prints of 105 in some places, Sunday and Monday. It's got 95 all the way up to Caribou. And then we were looking at the Moss numbers, which were at least 5 degrees lower than that. So we're kind of thinking that it did the same thing when we had the hot weather. What was it, about 2 weeks ago? It's all kind of lumping into the same in my mind.
Melding.
Yes, as we got closer to those hot days, those numbers so the model started to pull back on those high temperatures. So I'm thinking that's going to be the same this time around. At least I hope so.
No, I'm in agreement with you guys. I don't think it's going to be as hot as some of the models are saying. I mean, could we be looking at a potential heat wave? I think that goes without saying. We could be seeing some spots in the metro getting to that point. But taking a look back at like Central Park, for instance, we had 2 weekends ago. A lot of locations nearby got to around 90, 91 degrees for 2 days, but not necessarily 3. And back in the first weekend of May, we had a similar scenario: 2 days, but not quite 3. So some spots have yet to have an official heat wave, but we could get that this weekend in some areas.
Right. Well, then we go into that 3 to 5 day, 3 or 5 day argument because it's, Joe and I are purists, so we like the 5, but Long Island, for example, I think even in there were a few spots that maybe got to 90 on just 1 day, just a few spots, and I don't think MacArthur was one of them. Unless I got to double check, but at least for Friday, both on Friday, many areas will probably get to about 90, but coastal areas may have to deal with the sea breeze. And that's the other thing too. The ocean this time of year is usually not that warm, but it's actually colder than average off the South Shore. So that might kind of bring in some sea breeze action a bit further north than it otherwise would have.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think for the island, it's going to be hard-pressed to find areas, especially in Suffolk County, for instance, getting to that 90 mark and higher. Be closer to the city, yeah, you get a little bit more of an influence from the urban areas, building a little more heat, but like west of 95, yeah, I don't think they're going to...
Well, certainly on the first day. Maybe as we get to the second and third day, or particularly on the third day, which would be Sunday, I would think that most areas will probably see 90. And, we're thinking that it probably runs into the middle part of maybe right through the 4th of July. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works for me. I don't see anything massive breaking the pattern going over in from this coming weekend straight into the holidays. It looks like it's going to be, a string of pretty sunny days and warm as well. Mid to upper 80s in some spots, consecutive days in a row. So, yeah, this is our first big warm stretch coming on in, and we're not going to see hopefully any big bouts of cold, dreary conditions like we had back on Saturday.
Joe, what do you think about pop-up thunderstorms during this stretch?
I think they cannot be ruled out, especially if we see temperatures reaching into the mid or even upper 90s. The atmosphere, when it gets that hot, sometimes you just see in unpredicted areas or unpredictable areas, some of these little pop-up cells develop. They pop up and they last a relatively short time, then they just fade out after they use up their energy, so to speak. And we may see a couple of those during the weekend to cool things off, but the vast majority of our viewership, especially in the immediate tri-state area, it looks to be like a dry spell. The wetness we're going to be seeing on Thursday might be the last time we'll get wet weather for maybe almost a week after that. Again, not including any potential pop-ups.
Phil, let me just double-check his name. I'm sorry. Phil DeMori was asking Addison, I just wanted to let him know. When we were looking at the temperatures on the GFS, those were actually the temperatures, not the heat index on how it feels. Okay, because my never to be humble opinion is about feels like and heat indexes and all that nonsense in my view.
Yeah, none of that gets into your forecast. Nope.
And then don't forget that back in the 60s, an index which nobody seemed to understand.
The THI.
The THI, the temperature humidity index, which I think if it went above, let's say 70 or 75.
Yeah, 80 was the magic number. Then everybody was uncomfortable.
Everybody was uncomfortable, but nobody understood what it was. You hear the on the radio especially, and the THI is 72. Even half the population, what does that mean?
Well, the problem with it, the big problem with it was the fact that it was at a different scale. If it's 95 and you're using some other scale where the top number is basically 80 or 81, there's a disconnect there. Everybody's mindset is thinking, okay, but it's 95. What does that 81 mean? Right. And so I have to pay attention to 2 different scales. Well, whereas the heat index takes a number that's already ridiculous and makes it even more ridiculous because we live in a world where Armageddon Oh, there you are.
Whoops.
Addison, is that your laundry room?
No, not quite.
I used that, I was being kind there when I said laundry room. You don't have to go to the throne, do you?
No. Private access.
Now isn't it bad and isn't it horrible enough that it's 95 and it's really humid that I have to make it feel worse by saying, "Oh, it's 95, but it feels like 99."
Right.
What does that do to you? How does that help you?
Well, that's the mainstream media. We're always out there to make it seem worse than it really is.
Well, Joe and I, when we were late last week, we were looking at the temperature dew points that were going on in the Southwest, and in Las Vegas. It was 111 with a dew point of 1 above, and the heat index was down at like 100 or 101. So if you look at all those stations out there, because of how dry the air is, it actually 110 feels like 100. See, that I could kind of get, okay, because it makes you feel better. Yeah. But relatively speaking, I don't know. Hey, if you
talk about such bone dry air, any little bit of moisture, you can come out of the shower, walk outside, and you're dry in a matter of minutes. That's how incredibly arid those areas are. And when the heat index means nothing to them, really, compared to like how it is in like the southeast or the central plains, where you can feel like 110 easily in some spots. Well, not 110, I should say, maybe like 100.
Yeah. All right, look, we're coming up close to the top of the hour. Listen, I just had this thought. Maybe one day, when you get your house cleaning done, you could give us a tour. When you put your laundry away, Addison.
Show us your paintings.
That's what I was in the middle of doing.
What, his Renoir?
Well, I'd be happy to. There's this one.
Right, and that one. And that great big one over there. And that teeny tiny one over here. Joe and I are quoting Vaughn Meter way before your time. One day we'll let you listen to it. All right, you going sleepy? You going sleepy buys now?
I am. I'm about to clock out, but I didn't catch the beginning of the show, so I'm not sure if you covered this. The reason why we haven't had any tropical systems so far in June. Kind of what you were talking about a couple of weeks ago, that big pool of colder water dropping down across the eastern Atlantic. Kind of squash thing. So you were just confirming what you said a little while ago.
Well, it extends pretty far west. It actually a lot of the water in the Northwest Caribbean, which is basically if you're going to see something this time of year, that's where you are more likely to see it. Even there, the Caribbean Sea water temperatures are running at a degree or 2 Celsius below average into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So it is having some impact. Also, the fact that the winds aloft apparently have been stronger than normal across much of the Caribbean basin this month, but it's not overly unusual not to see tropical systems in June or at least through the first, 2/3 of July in the Atlantic basin. We've had many years where the first one didn't pop up until late July or early August.
Yeah, I mean, look at Andrew. I mean, was it 92? Yeah, I mean, talk about waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
So we can definitely go throughout the rest of the month into much of next month with next to nothing. I think I saw a stat was like back since like 2004 was the last time we had no tropical systems in the month of June. I have to double check that, but it's been a while, so it's just a little unusual.
See, I used to have these things right off the top of my head, and I just don't have it anymore.
The mind is the first thing to go.
Thank God. All right, listen, gotta run because it's we got to hit Joe and I have to hit the top of the hour. So, thank you for joining us. Addison knows that I love him almost as much as I love my luggage. And right, so he knows I like to I bust his chops. But we just got another view of your laundry. Can we look at your laundry basket over there? You just shot your laundry basket.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that the dirty laundry or is the clean laundry that you have in there?
Dirty laundry.
It's the dirty laundry. Are you going to do your wash tonight?
No. It's done for today.
Okay.
At our house, we call that the hamper.
Okay.
Yeah, hamper. Works.
What kind of detergent do you use? People want to know this. What brand?
Tide.
Tide?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those little pod things?
No. I just use straight liquid.
The liquid?
Or just sitting right above the washing machine, just like, whoop, just drop it down.
You and I are simpatico. We use the same detergent.
That's what's that?
Tide.
Oh, Tide. Okay.
What about your fabric softener?
Whatever that one with that bear on it. I forgot what it's called.
The one with what?
Something like Snuggie the Bear, something like that. I don't know.
Must be one of those online fabric softeners that you're using.
I just grabbed it and ran out of the store. I don't even remember what I bought. It's been a while.
All right, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Go to sleep because you have to be here for whenever it is you get in. I'll see you tomorrow.
Just see you tomorrow, guys.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys.
He's very difficult. Isn't he difficult?
I don't know how he puts up with you.
I know.
What?
Ha!
Huh?
All right, so let me just really fast, Joe's. A few folks, just in case, just run and get a quick question from somebody, and we got it like seconds to answer.
Is he still on?
No, he's off.
Oh.
That's delay.
Oh, okay.
Atlantic sea temperatures now is an indicator for storms compared to last year. Christina Barsoni, cooler than average right now, as Addison brought up. And okay, so we'll leave it there. All right, got to go, folks. Top of the hour. Fios 1 News Long Island and Fios 1 News New Jersey.
And Fios 1 News Lower Hudson Valley.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Adios.